Good evening. We're going to call this meeting to order. Marnie, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Mark Gregg.
Here for now.
Councilmember Elizabeth Jolin. Here. Councilmember Henry Rosenthal.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sharon Mahoney.
Here.
And Mayor Buddy Pinder.
Here.
We have quorum.
Okay. I've asked Coach Russell to lead us in the pledge.
If you would stand, please place your hand over your heart. Join me in I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Coach. All right. All right, we're going to have a quick prayer and we'll get rolling here. Thank you, Lord, for this beautiful day today, the rain and just the sunshine and all the beauty that you've bestowed upon us. We ask that you look after this meeting and look after each and every one of us, each and everyone here. We pray for blessings for them and their family, and we just that we can do the best we can. And thank you again for the unity in our community. And we just lift all these things up to you, and in your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Okay. Marnie, we're going to open public comment. Do we have anybody signed up for public comment?
We do. First, Van Cadenhead, followed by Jason Lyman.
I'm Van Cadenhead. Go Hurricanes. I'm here to represent the same position I represented last year about this kind of thing. And that's that I don't think this council should be in the business of funding 501c3s. I think for the most part, they should be conducting their own fundraising, because for one thing, it puts all five of you in an awkward position to have to choose. Now, there's $120,000 set aside for this day, and all the different people have asked for different amounts of money. And it's really not fair to the people of Islamorada to give to charities that they may not want to give to, independently. So y'all made a move last year to allow it to happen, and I just think it would be better if you had some kind of a web page on the village of accepted charities that were acknowledged by the village to be worthwhile, and then let the people make their own decisions as to how much they want to give and to which charity. Because $120,000 is nowhere near what's been requested here tonight. And so somebody's going to go home hungry, somebody's going to go home defeated, somebody's going to go home with not as much as they thought they were supposed to have. And really, I don't think it's your job, it's your duty, it's your place to do that. Now, there are certain things like the Health Education Center. In last year, they gave contribution to Mayor Pinder's campaign. And I don't know that that's ethical, but it's just kind of strange. And the community ministry of the Baptist Church, that's a worthy thing. They absolutely ought to be considered, because they help our community and the people that are indigent and hungry and don't have clothes. They're a wonderful thing. So I really, in the children's shelter and the Good Health Clinic, but the rest of them are eligible for TDC funding. They're eligible to do their own fundraising. And so I ask that you reconsider what you did last year and make this year and this process the last time that we do it this way. And I don't deny that there's plenty of really deep pockets, generous people in this village that always step up to fill out the slack in the budgets. Thank you so much. That'll do it. Thank you.
Who's next, Marnie?
Jason Lyman.
All right, Jason.
Jason Lyman, 145 Plantation Boulevard. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I want to start by thanking you for the effort you put into the benefit of this community. I don't think everyone is aware of the personal sacrifices that you make to sit in those chairs. It's often thankless, and you put yourselves in the firing line for personal attacks. Whether we agree with your position or not, we should all be grateful for you stepping forward to steer this ship. I've never been to this podium outside of my official duties because honestly, it's probably not a good career move. But this year feels different. You all know me and what I do. I've rented homes from some of you, I've worked for some of you, I see your kids alongside mine at school, and your grandkids being walked around the neighborhood. I'm here today to urge you to reconsider a millage rate of 3. Surprise, an employee suggesting that we raise taxes. Seems blatantly self-serving, right? But please hear me out, as I am here as a taxpayer and a homeowner. Everyone here has a dozen friends in real estate. It's easy to discover that Alamorada is pretty much the most sought-after area of the Keys. It is desirable for many reasons, but a significant part of that is because of the services that this village provides. Local government adds real value to a home. That value comes in the form of parks, amenities, activities, community character, events, services, etc. All those things are provided by your employees. All those things require maintenance, repairs, and upgrades. All of that requires a team behind it. Your team costs money. Your projects and initiatives cost money. Clearly you're aware of this, but I'm not sure that it registers equally with all of our residents. Imagine if Public Works trimmed the trees less frequently, or did half the maintenance on the sewer system, or we do allow the pool to fall into a state of disrepair. How attractive would we be then? In previous budget cycles, we always discuss what an increase would cost the average working homeowner. What would that cost be to a home assessed at $500,000? I've not heard that this year, so I volunteer my trim notice for inspection. I consider our family average for the area. My wife and I both work between 40 and 50 hours a week. We volunteer with charities. Our kids are first-generation Cox. We are fortunate to have a decent home in a great neighborhood, and our sweat equity has contributed to its value. Our taxes, as you know, are calculated on the assessment minus the exemptions. We are not even close to the median home value figures that you are looking at. I think you will find that the vast majority of folks that you're trying to help will not approach that value. If they do, well, congratulations, you're doing great. So let's look at the cost to me, the average Joe that you are trying to help. For the fraction of my overall tax bill that the village controls, the difference between rollback and 2.7992 is $62 a year. The difference between rollback and 3.0 is $166. So if going to 3.0 allows us to accomplish all of the goals that staff have detailed, contribute to these nonprofits, make real gains in workforce housing, pay our staff, that makes all of this happen in this village a living wage, maintain or improve this beautiful village, which in turn increases everyone's home value, all for less than the cost of a single date night, I'm all in. It's your call, but speaking as the average working class homeowner, I am in full support of raising my taxes a whopping $13.83 a month to keep Alamorada the jewel that it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
And let me check the Zoom.
You guys
to see
can clap
there's
if you
anything else.
want. Nobody's, you know what? I admire him that he got up there and did this. I mean, after hearing him speak the other night, what he's been through and the price that he's paid, you know, we don't realize what firefighters go through. So,
Wish I had had a copy of your speech last night when we were going through this, because you said it better than I did, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, could you email that to us? Because they're not done with the budget.
okay. All righty. Marnie, anybody else for public comment?
Yes, we have Joe Wishmeyer on Zoom.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Wishmeyer.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Council. I would like to applaud this council for making the right decision by lowering the tax rate with the large increase in taxable value. I hope you follow through with the 2.65 mill rate on the September 5th meeting. Despite the last speaker, remember that 2.65 will cover everything that you had proposed in the budget. So it's not like you're taking anything away. I do agree with Van Cadenhead, so I'm not going to read that part of what I wrote down and take up your time. I would like to remind you, though, that yesterday I remember Councilman Gregg saying that you couldn't swing a cat without hitting a millionaire in our community. Maybe those charities should approach those people for the money, because we need to start looking for money for our new land acquisition fund. This would be a good start. Regarding Mr. Horton's comments yesterday, I would like to straighten out the record a little. Mr. Roger resigned in May of 2022. The amount quoted by Mr. Horton included significant severance pay for both legal department employees and $176,000 to Weiss Serota to finish out the year. The last full year for Roger was 2020-21, and the total cost was $462,067 for both employees and associated costs for litigation and outside consultants. Not to say Weiss Serota is doing a poor job, but $300,000 extra in legal fees over what we have been paying before is a big number to consider. Lastly, it was very refreshing that you gave time for the public comment during the latter part of yesterday's meeting. I hope you keep up the good work. Thank you very much.
Marnie, do we have anybody else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, public comment is now closed.
Is that a compliment he made?
Huh? Wow.
Put that in the minutes, please.
Let's see now. Okay, so charitable contributions, application presentations, and I believe we're going to start with iCare, and I want to call Mr. Cole first to kind of explain how we're going to do this. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to welcome all of our not-for-profits and thank each of you and your organizations for the valuable contributions that you make to the Islamorada community, ranging from social and health services to taxation to environmental conservation and protection. So thank you so much for each of your activities. It's somewhat akin to our council serving selflessly up here and not really being thanked for all the work they do. That happens a lot in the not-for-profit sector as well. There's a lot of good people doing a lot of good work, and you don't get a lot of recognition. So thank you for being here, and again, thank you for your work. Procedurally, the way this will work tonight is we've invited each of the requesting community partners to come and talk to council and speak to if they received funding allocations last year, what became of those, and to support their request for the upcoming fiscal year, 24-25. Now, they're allotted up to 5 minutes, or, well, targeting 5 minutes, but they can take up to 10 minutes for each presentation. We would encourage any questions from council, brief in nature, so that we can make it through our agenda this evening with all of the not-for-profit partners that have come in attendance to present to us. In terms of scoring, council has scoring sheets for each of the presentations. We will not be making any decisions on those scorings tonight, and in fact, final decisions on any levels of funding awarded would not be made until the budget hearings that we'll have on September 5 and September 17. So I believe that most of our partners have targeted 5 minutes, but again, we did allow up to 10 for each of them. Okay. So if you have any additional information to add or questions about process, I think we're good to go, Mayor.
Okay. All right. We would like to try to hold it to 5 if we could, if you can do the best you can to hold it at 5, say what you want to say, and then we also can call, if you have any questions, you can call us or we can call you and go over stuff before we turn our scoring sheets in. Okay, Mr. Quick?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just a reminder to the council, when you're filling out your score sheets, please make sure for public records purposes that your name is on them. That way we know the public is able to know, because we cannot have secret ballots or anything like that. So please make sure to include your names on them.
Okay. Mr. Cole?
And one point of clarification, any not-for-profit that's applying for funding and would like to speak to council, please direct your inquiries through staff and we'll route them accordingly. Otherwise, should council members have questions for our not-for-profits, they can certainly reach out, but we don't want to have our council members besieged with calls after presentations. Any request for contact to council members reference these applications should be routed through staff directly rather than calling our council members one-on-one.
Okay, but we're allowed, John, we're allowed to call, right?
Yes,
We can
absolutely.
call them if we have any questions individually.
100%, yes.
Okay, all right. Elizabeth, did you have something you wanted to talk about? Or you got it cleared? Okay, all right. Okay. Okay, all right. So, Marnie, let's set it at 5 right now, if we could, and try to go from there. And anyways. All right. Okay, so the first one up is iCare. Come on up to the mic.
Hello, everyone. I have slides. Are they coming?
Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah.
So everybody, we know who you are, but we need you to introduce. So each one as you come up, introduce yourself and what organization you represent, and just help us move things along.
All right. I did have slides. Are they going to come up? Oh, perfect. Okay, awesome. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Kylie Smith, and I am one of the co-founders of iCare. If you haven't heard of us, we are a reef restoration organization focusing our efforts here in Islamorada. And I wanted to talk just a little bit about some of what we do here in the community. So we're a little different than other restoration organizations, where we partner with local dive shops to try to provide opportunities to anybody who's a recreational diver to be a part of restoring our reefs. But we don't just stop there. We do a lot of maintenance. We do maintenance on 100% of the corals that we transplant. We also provide opportunities for locals to get involved. We have several grants that we've received that will pay for Monroe County residents to come out and do the work with us for free. It pays for their expenses. And this has been a really great way for us to bring a new level of education to our visitors and our locals about how important our reef ecosystem is out here. We are also focusing on other members of the community. So we now have a new project where we are transplanting sponges to the reef. We have a collaborative partnership with Mote Marine Laboratory where we are working to enhance herbivorous crab populations on the reef that graze down competitive algae that hurt coral. And we also have a team that monitors surveys or does quarterly surveys on our reefs to try to see how our restoration efforts are influencing the community as a whole, our lobsters, our crabs, our urchins. We also have an annual trash derby that gets both divers and land-based teams involved in cleaning up our marine ecosystems. And so we've been operational since January of 2021. In that time, we have outplanted just under 19,000 corals from 16 different species. We've transplanted 900 sponges and helped produce thousands of crabs that by the end of this year, they'll be starting to go back out on the reef. We've had just over 3,600 individuals come through our program, and through our grant funding, we've provided opportunities for 1,200 locals to go out and be a part of this solution. Through our trash derby, we have collected over 26,000 pounds of debris between the 2 years that we had that event. And from the beginning, we have received funding from the village. So everything I've talked about to date has been with the help of funds provided by you guys. So thank you all very much. But another part of what we do is education. So we have a lot of community outreach events that we will have booths at, including Island Fest, the Nautical Flea Market, Bay Jam. We try to do anything we can. And these provide really great opportunities for us to recruit new local divers and to give presentations to school groups. We've been able to form relationships with both Treasure Village, PKS, and Coral Shores through some of these different events. And so what our proposal is for this year is we want to embark on a new program. Our locals program really doesn't have any young kids in it. And so we wanted to create an avenue to start training some of those younger kids. So we want to use the funding to get 10 local kids certified. We're targeting ages 12 to 18, so by the time they're done, they can join that locals program with us. The program also will cover a buoyancy training course to where they can get the skills they need to really work with coral and the different organisms we work with. And it would allow for new opportunity for us to engage with some of those schools that we've worked with in the past. And so our budget is broken down to where it's all going back into the community. It's enough to cover for those 10 students. So the $500 that is paying for the open water certification, that buoyancy course at $200 per student, and then it would also give them the funds to be a part of their preliminary iCare dives. So going out, transplanting corals, as well as doing a maintenance dive with us. And then the rest of the funds would be to pay for transplanting supplies, to support those programs and monitoring supplies. And then the heart and soul of our program is our interns. And so we provide a monthly stipend for them as well as housing. So we've asked for some funds to help out with some costs there too. So that is the way our budget is broken down. And I really appreciate the time, and I appreciate all the support that we have had up to this point. And if it's allowed and there's time, I'm happy to take any questions.
Is there any questions? Anybody want to ask Kylie anything? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
all.
Okay, so the next up is the community ministry from First Baptist Church.
Hi, my name is Sue Miller. I am a volunteer with the community ministry at the First Baptist Church. We are a food pantry, but we are also a clothing closet. We provide dinner, we provide counseling, we provide free counseling through a counseling service out of Miami called Wellspring, and we also provide a 12-step addiction program. Is this set up? There we go. Sorry, guys. Okay. So our clientele is not just homeless people in the community. Our clientele is the service workers, the families, the individuals that are working in this community but cannot support themselves on the wages that they're making. We supply them, they become food insecure, they cannot meet their budgets, so we supply them with food and clothing to help them meet their monthly budgets. There's also many retired individuals in this community who are living on fixed incomes who also cannot meet their budgets because of increases in rent and increases of the cost of living. They come in, we can help them get by and be able to survive in this community. So we are staffed by all volunteers, no one is paid. We have about 75 different volunteers, not just through the Baptist Church, through many organizations within the Upper Keys. We distributed over 175,000 pounds of food last year. We distribute to approximately 110 families per week, and that is up from about 30% from last year. We are partnered with Feeding South Florida, which is an organization part of Feeding America. They are based out of Pembroke Pines, and they supply us with a majority of our food, but they are also scarce on what they supply. So we spend about $50,000 a year from what we fundraise to buy milk, which we cannot get, fresh produce, which we cannot get through our partners. And we also buy, through Sam's Club, staple items like tuna, peanut butter, jelly, just so we have stuff that is necessary on the shelves. We purchase that to the tune of about $50,000 a year. We also have a community garden that different plots are in our property that people can come in, we share watering, and that produce and stuff is distributed through our pantry. We also have a dental bus every year that comes to town. Local dentists and hygienists all volunteer for the week, and we supply cleanings and mostly pulling of the teeth, emergency needs that are needed in the dental at no cost to anyone. Okay, so our need basically is food. We're asking for $10,000 to help keep our budget up, to help supply the growing need in our community of food. We also have recently been granted a generator from Feeding South Florida, so we'll be ready if a major storm does occur. We have plenty of food. We'll be open immediately to supply food and clothing to the community as needed. Is there any questions from anybody?
I just want to comment because I don't know how many other council have been to the Baptist Church. They have lots of volunteers, and they do. You can go there and get your own little food plot. All right, it's very impressive. The people that are working there, and whether the clothing or whatever. And Mr. Caden had just brought up something that I received something from a health organization, but I had money left over in my campaign in 22. The biggest part of it went to that food. After seeing that, it really touched my heart because I've traveled a mission field all over the world. But that is a major mission for people. Not, as she said, it's not only homeless. It's helping people make some ends meet, and the money y'all spend on milk and meat and stuff like that. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for your support.
All right. So the next up is Firm Keys.
Good afternoon, esteemed council members and staff. Thank you for your time this afternoon and all the support that you have shown Firm in years past, as well as your consideration for our funding request. My name is Mel Montagny. I am the president of Firm, Fair Insurance Rates in Monroe, better known as Firm. I've also been a licensed insurance agent in Monroe County for over 25 years. That's why I have no hair left. As you can well imagine. Let's see if I can get. We advocate for the village of Islamorada, but not just for the village. It's all of Monroe County that we advocate for its residents, businesses, and homeowners. We have fought successfully since 2006 against excessive, discriminatory, and unaffordable property insurance rates. What are some of the things that we've accomplished on the windstorm front? We were able to roll back a 20% rate increase back in 2006 and derail the 32% rate increase in late 2006. We were able to get citizens' rate increases capped at 10%, the infamous glide path. We were able to increase the policy limits from $700,000 to $1 million here in Monroe County, and we have petitioned the Office of Insurance Regulation for a rate freeze in 2017 that held until 2021. What were we able to do on the flood side? The flood side is a little bit more complicated because that's a federal program, and dealing with the folks up in Washington is not exactly as easy as dealing with the folks in Tallahassee. So we helped to repeal some of the worst aspects of Biggert Water's Flood Insurance Reform Act of 2012. We supported Key West Height referendum, participated in multi-jurisdictional community rating system, and we've worked with the municipalities to develop the appeal to FEMA's proposed flood maps. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the proposed flood maps because, believe it or not, that appeal was filed over 3 years ago. Now, what we didn't know back when we filed the appeal is that, well, what we did know is we had a 90-day window to file the appeal, which we did. The part we didn't know was that FEMA has no time certain to respond to the appeal. So here we sit 3 years later with no response from FEMA. So we're still using the flood maps that we had from before. The new flood maps have not gone into effect. So on the legislative front, we're eliminated the flood insurance requirement for condos, eliminated matching content requirement for flood insurance, and the non-primary homes occupied by long-term tenant remain under the rate cap. For those of you that are not aware, if you have a non-primary home that is not leased for long-term being 9 months or more, you are subject to a 50% rate surcharge off the citizens' wind rates. Some of the things that we are going to be looking to do this legislative session will be to eliminate the flood insurance requirements for properties not at risk of flooding, and even eliminate the flood insurance requirement altogether, because I have no idea why we are forcing people to buy flood insurance that do not want to purchase flood insurance. We want to increase the coverage under citizens from 1 million today to 1.5 million. And we want to get Monroe County back to the 10% glide path and completely away from the 15% that we're heading to today. So back in 2023, we worked with our lobbyist, Rep. Mooney, Senator Rodriguez, and Monroe County's legislative team. Oh, Sorry, wrong place. In the latter half of 2023, we hosted representatives from Citizens Property Insurance Corp. And Florida's Insurance Consumer Advocate, Tasha Carter, on field trips throughout Monroe County. The purpose of the site visits was to show our guests firsthand how resiliently we build in the Keys. As a result, the Insurance Consumer Advocate Carter championed Monroe County's legislative agenda and committee meeting during the legislative session, as well as during the recent citizens' rate hearings. We were successful in getting Robert Spotswood Sr. put on the Citizens Board. We had not had a representative on that board since Betty Brown's term expired in 2021. He is now on the board and a great representative for us here in Monroe County. Firm has met with Mr. Spotswood several times. So building relationships. So as a small county at the tip of Florida with limited representation in Tallahassee, one of the most important things we can do is to build relationships with policymakers, administrators, and legislators to help them understand that Monroe County leads the rest of the state in resilient building practices. Fortunately, it isn't difficult to get them to visit the Keys. In 2024, we look forward to welcoming incoming Speaker Danny Perez as well as Insurance Commissioner Michael Jaworski on site visits so that they can better understand Monroe County's challenges. We are also going to be putting on a windstorm and flood insurance forum in the spring of 2025 to bring together local elected officials, industry experts to brainstorm ways to be sure that Monroe County residents are not overburdened by the cost of property insurance. We do have a new website. For those of you that haven't been to it, please go. It's firmkeys.org. There's an incredible amount of information on there together with our Monroe County Property Insurance User's Guide, which helps a lot of people that are new to the Keys get an idea of what insurance looks like here in the Keys. Believe it or not, a lot of realtors also use that as well. Our work over the last 16, 17 years has resulted in over $900 million in savings in windstorm insurance for wind insurance premiums for Monroe County residents, obviously including the folks here in Islamorada. One of the things that we are spearheading recently is we are also working with Habitat for Humanity, and I don't know if some of you may or may not be aware that they are facing the possibility of their homeowners no longer being able to stay in their homes. The reason for that is the cost of insurance. So we are working with Habitat to find unique ideas to get their folks to stay in their homes and lower the insurance cost. Firm is also mentioned, I do want to bring this up, in America, the owner's manual written by our very own Senator Bob Graham back in '09. He dedicated about 4 pages in the book to Firm and its grassroots beginning and accomplishments. In closing, Firm continues to stick by our founding principles to fight for fair, equitable, and affordable property insurance for homeowners, residents, and business owners, which protects property and contributes to housing affordability. The way Firm has done that in the past and will continue to do in the future is present sound and factually based evidence to leaders in Tallahassee and Washington, D.C. We greatly appreciate the support of Islamorada, the municipalities and residents for our efforts over the last 18 years. Firm's work has resulted, again, in over $900 million in savings in wind insurance premiums for Monroe County residents. Any questions from anyone?
Any questions, Council?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mel. Okay, next is up the Florida Keys Children's Shelter. I'm sorry, I skipped one. Florida Keys Area Health Education Center. I am sorry.
That's all right. Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity. Mayor Pinder, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cole, thank you for having us today. My name is Michael Cunningham. I'm the CEO with the Keys AHAC Health Centers. We have been able to partner with the Village of Islamorada over the last 2 years, actually. Our application that you have in front of you does give a detailed expense as well as a revenue budget, so you can see who our partners are as well, countywide, statewide, so on and so forth. Our request this year is for $15,000, partial support of one nurse practitioner that has been serving in the Plantation Key School 2 days a week. Keys AHAC has been working locally to, filling the gaps of our total budget as we have year to year. Our program does support children's health care in the Upper Keys through having 3 days a week at Coral Shores, 4 days a week now at Key Largo School. Our mobile dental unit coming on a rotational basis. In fact, it'll be here next week at Plantation Key School if you want to come by and take a look. And then we have a brand new children's dental center in Marathon that is serving students countywide. I know in your grading process here, your scoring process, that you're looking at four main areas. So fulfills the service need, yes. Lack of access to quality and affordable health care. How do we do this? Well, we're providing medical and dental services to the children of Monroe County. How does this benefit families? Well, they have access to no cost and low cost medical and dental care on site on a regularly scheduled basis at their schools. What's this mean? Parents that have no need to miss work for these visits unless they physically want to be there with the students themselves. It eliminates barriers to care. We focus on those who are uninsured, or on Medicaid, also considered medically vulnerable. Just because sometimes you have insurance doesn't mean you have access to health care. 98% of our dental kids are uninsured or Medicaid. There's no pediatric dentist here in Monroe County. We have the only one. On the medical side, 72% are uninsured or on Medicaid, and that's because we have a lack of Medicaid providers. Some don't take Medicaid at all, and if they do, they usually have capped rates, with that. High quality and effective fulfillment of services. This is where we get into the data. This is what we served last year. For all schools, what we did in the Upper Keys, what we did in Plantation Key School for medical and dental. And how were we fulfilling those services? Well, we have a really high quality, dedicated team of healthcare providers. 7 nurse practitioners, which is full-time, part-time, 5.2 FTEs, medical assistants, LPNs, a pediatric dentist, 2 hygienists, 2 expanded functions dental assistants, our executive support team, as well as our medical director. Last year, too, we opened up, I'd say in January of 24, we opened up the Marathon Dental Center, which increased our ability on the dental side of increasing capacity by 40%. Fourth quarter of this year compared to last year, we actually doubled the number of visits. So by opening that center and serving students countywide, we've been able to make a significant impact. Again, our dental schedule, August through May, is already out. Anybody looking for services will know what day, what time, and where we're going to be on any given time all the way throughout the entire year. Our health centers, we have our schedule up and the days of operation in 10 sites throughout Monroe County, being the larger public schools that we have here. But we serve our charters, our private, and our homeschooled students as well. And again, some of you have seen that bus that goes up and down. When you see it, please wave. I am also the driver and the head of maintenance. So I will be coming up on Saturday, tomorrow, delivering this to Plantation Key School. Services directly benefiting Islamorada residents. Yes, the children and families. How are we doing this? Again, it's our dental and medical students, and we're seeing everybody without any socioeconomic barriers. The only requirement is that they're enrolled in school, pre-K3 through their senior year in high school. Working families now have access to health care. I say every day, but it's every school day. And we are here throughout the summer during summer school. We're bringing the medical and dental services to the schools. Parents don't miss work, and they can be seen same day. Dental does take an appointment just because we have a limited capacity with that of seeing about 20 kids a day, so we have to have those scheduled. And then we're ensuring that kids have, a medical and dental home, regular, ongoing, scheduled, and continuous care, which is a big deal. Our infrastructure, well, we've been here since 1990. I've been with the organization now for 24 years. Our health services have been here for 11 years. Dental's pretty much coming up on 3. We have 23 different grants and contracts. That's in your grant application to see who we're working with. 1.8 million last year in clinical support. We're looking at about 1.7 this year. We're able again to work in the community to fill gaps when we have them. You were a part of that 2 years ago. Thank you. And we're delivering on site. When we started this program 11 years, we had 2 providers. We had 4 sites. Now we're countywide, again, with the 7 nurse practitioners and a full team. I could go on about budgets and statistics for a while, but we see thousands of families each year. Ocean Reef Community Foundation a year ago did a video with us about one family, and we actually did want to share that with you. There's some volume, perhaps. I know there's one on the right side of the presentation as well. Literally, a year ago, on the right side, there's a volume. You might want to hit that. So the Ocean Reef Community Foundation has been a partner really since day one. They helped us purchase the unit, and on January 11th, literally a year ago, we became fully operational, and we have this beautiful and colorful and kid-friendly dental unit that's providing dental services every day to Keys kids. We've had just under 2,000 visits to our program, and we've had about 9,400 services that we provided. We have no Medicaid docs, here in Monroe County for our kids.
We revolve around a 10-week rotating schedule, and we visit all 10 Monroe County schools. A lot of people that we've been serving are kids of Ocean Reef employees. You think first dental visit being 3 and 4 years old, but the majority of our patients, their first dental visits is when they come to see us, and a lot of them can be in high school with juvenile periodontal disease. Permanent first molars already decayed to the point where there's just rotted root tips. Our kids are going to school in pain.
The importance of this program is that it provides an outreach to children who really don't have access to care because there are not too many providers, and also the cost.
I was actually in a pickle with her teeth, and I didn't know what to do because down here, root canal is $1,300.
I had a whole bunch of cavities, and it made me feel nasty, and I had this scab, and I didn't like it because I got made fun of at school a lot.
In Chloe's case, she really needed some very comprehensive dentistry. We're talking about a ballpark figure about $20,000 in dental services if it would have been channeled through private practice.
Ever since I got my teeth done, when I smile, I don't smile with my mouth closed anymore. I smile with my mouth open, and I'm really happy about that.
It felt really good because getting her teeth fixed and not feeling like a bad parent for not being able to afford it. Being a single father and just being able to sleep at night and not try to work 90 hours a week and spend time with my daughter. It's just a blessing.
They've made life easier for us. We put food on the table, we have a roof, we pay rent, and it's a little bit easier to do that now that we're not spending so much money on a dentist. And we have everything that God wanted us to have.
This is what you are supporting. This is the type of family that you are serving. So I will entertain any questions that you have. Thank you.
Council, any questions for Michael? Okay. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. All right. Okay, next is the Florida Keys Children's Shelter. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having us today. My name is Ben Kemmer. I'm the CEO for the Florida Keys Children's Shelter. Michael with the video there. Where'd he go? All right. Man, that guy. All right. So let me get the click in here. And I pressed the wrong button, didn't I? There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. Florida Keys Children's Shelter. So we're just right down the road, 73 High Point Road. What we do, we have a children's shelter for abused, abandoned, neglected, runaway, homeless, and at-risk kids. It's been there for 35 years, several upgrades over the last 35 years. I've been with the organization now for 24 years, just like Michael. So love what I do. It's awesome. But what we're asking for today is just $2,500 to offset basically travel expenses. So what we do is our Upper Keys Jail Center. That's our main shelter. Houses up to 19 kids. Usually we've got between that 8 and 12 kids with us at one time. And then we have the Key West Transitional Living Program, which it serves the kids when they turn 18 with us. Then they have an option to go down to Key West, and there's a house down there for them to live in. There's actually 2 houses, one for a female side and one for a male side. And they can stay there up to the age of 22. Also with that, we have the counselors in all the schools from Key Largo to Key West, so they work with the kids and the families in the schools that might be having difficulties both socially and with school problems, just like every teenager usually does. And we serve about 220 kids every year in the schools up and down the Keys. We serve about 110 kids at our children's shelter in Islamorada every year. And then Project Lighthouse is our street outreach program in Key West, which also works with kids up to the age of 22. And the main goal for that program is to make sure that the kids that show up in Key West, A, stay out of trouble, B, become productive. If they need IDs, if they need supplies, if they need to do their laundry, showers, anything like that, they can also do that there. So that's Project Lighthouse, which a lot of you probably have never been down to that program, but if you're ever in Key West, Truman Avenue, it's very cool. So we are nationally accredited. We just went through our Council on Accreditation inspection a month ago, and we, of course, like always, got perfect scores. So this is kind of a breakdown of the numbers we serve that I just told you. I'll go through this quick. So funding information. So this is just a quick breakdown of the revenue sources that we receive. So 60%, it's probably higher than that. It's probably closer to 65, 70% we get from government, state funding, and then private funding, local funding is more like 30, 35%. So we're trying to, of course, like all nonprofits, you always try to like sway that and not be so reliant on, government and everything for funding. But so these are our major funders. Health Human Services, Florida Department of Juvenile Justice, Children and Families. Go through this quick. So that's it. So basically last year, we asked for the same, we got $3,000. And our budget last year, our expenditures on fuel last year, fuel alone, that's not insurance, that's not staff, was about $7,000 for fuel last year to help transport the kids. I've had 4 kids of my own, which it's my daughter's 18th birthday. She's over at Florida Gulf Coast. So after this is over, I got to run across the swamp for her birthday over at Florida Gulf Coast. So I had four kids, and I know soccer practice, football practice, baseball, friends, how much it costs and how much time you spend on the road shuttling kids around. So with the shelter, we're doing that every day, nonstop. So appreciate it. Once again, thank you for your support last year, and thanks for having us again this year.
Hold up 1 second, Councilor.
Sure.
Just a footnote to your presentation. I've been a major supporter of the children's shelter for, 30, 35 years.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I've done numerous shows countywide. I just want to make reference to a person that really helped me on a Pacific show, and that was Betsy Jaycox up here.
Yeah.
She put together the show. I performed the show. We raised $10,000 one show. Therefore, I don't know if it's permissible or not. I know you're asking for $2,500 if it's permissible, I would like to add $5,000 to what you're asking for, because I know what your expenses are. It looks great on paper, but I really know what's going on. So if it's possible that I could add $5,000 to what he's asking for, it's just an ask. That's all I'm just saying. I'm going to plug it in, okay? I'm not going to talk about anybody where I took money away, but I will talk about I want up what you're asking for, okay?
Thank you. Yeah, but that's
Thank you. That's
huge
all I have to
surprise.
say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, Henry. So now we have the Florida Keys Healthy Start Coalition, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Jay Good. I'm with the Florida Keys Healthy Start Coalition. I have been a member of our Keys community for almost 20 years. Like many people, I came here as a retiree. I've been working here with the Florida Keys Healthy Start Coalition for about the last 18 years. And during that time, I've done lots of things in the community, sat on boards, I've worked with children, I've been a foster parent, because I really thought that coming back into the community where I could continue to serve was important. It was a priority for me. And one of the things that I was immediately struck by was the lack of access to health care, which I have to say has improved significantly in those 18 years. But also a repeated sense of isolation that families report, especially those with the smallest of children, before they get into the pre-K and kindergarten point. The coalition was founded more than 30 years ago and originally served as the Florida Perinatal Network. But in the early 1990s, the government came out and said this was an area where we had real issues and real concerns, specifically that we had a very high infant mortality rate in the state of Florida. We also had a high maternal mortality rate. So the idea was to create these coalitions throughout the state that would be able to focus on making sure that women and infants not only received access to health care, but assistance when there were developmental delays identified. And the Healthy Start Coalition in Key West, which is started in Key West, but is a countywide initiative now, actually provided that assistance to families using a screen that's conducted when babies are born in our community and when women go to their first prenatal appointment. And we use that to identify areas in which we may be able to help them have better birth outcomes. And as a result, today, Monroe County has one of the lowest infant mortality rates in the state of Florida. When if you think about our lack of access to care, our remote nature of our community, the geographic challenges we all work with, no matter what you're doing in our community, it's really remarkable. And I really credit the variety of programs that we have available within Monroe County that has helped us to do that. The mission of the coalition is to unite people and resources to improve the health and well-being of pregnant women, children, and their families in Monroe County. We have a flagship program, which is Healthy Start, which we do conduct in coordination and in partnership with the Monroe County Health Department. And we identify women who are at highest risk for poor birth outcomes, and we provide them education. We ensure that they have access to health care. We make sure that if they need assistance with things like childbirth education, lactation, things that will help address some of those social determinants of health, less the medical issues, but more the social issues, that we are able to provide an intervention and improve their outcomes. Because we all know the cost of a child who ends up in a NICU is extraordinarily high, and that bill is frequently the taxpayers in the end. Healthy Babies is a program that grew out of that, which affords subsidized health care, prenatal care in particular, to pregnant women in our community throughout Monroe County. We do it in partnership with private doctors, with federally qualified health clinics, and private clinics. We also now have recognizing the impact of maternal depression. We have made mental health services available. And these programs that I'm going through, they are done without any cost to a woman, and it's not based necessarily solely on their financial need. So in other words, in our view, pregnancy is kind of like the great equalizer. You may have access to funds, you may have a doctor, but if you have a child born to you with significant developmental delays or birth defects, then you need assistance, you need help navigating the medical system, the services system, to make sure that your child or your spouse or your family receives what they need to be able to support whatever the outcome has been. Keys to Kids Safety is another program that we now have, which is a wonderful program that helps provide car seats to families. It provides bicycle helmets, swimming things, safe sleep, so that we don't think about it in our community, but all of our homes are very small here. Many homes don't have space for a child to be in a crib. So we actually provide smaller pack-and-play cribs so that they can make sure that their child is not put into a hazardous situation, which we all know can result in a horrible outcome. We also have Keys to Growing Kids, which is what we're going to talk about here in Islamorada, which is intended to promote development for both gross and fine motor skills for those littles before they get to pre-K school. Keys to Supporting Families, we provide over 100,000 diapers to families in our community as a whole. We also provide, again, cribs. We provide assistance in transporting families. During the pandemic, and I think it's a testament to the fact that we're a very flexible and responsive organization, we actually had people that could not get to their Miami appointments for specialty care because they had no transportation. They couldn't put gas in their cars. They were without work. So we basically bought a van and we started shuttling people back and forth to specialty care in Miami, all the way from Key West all the way through Key Largo. So there's many different ways that we've been able to assist families, recognizing that if we're helping them with formula, for instance, that frees up money for them to do other things like put a roof over their head. And lastly, Keys to Hope is a bereavement program. I think that we would all probably be shocked to understand how many pregnancies do not come to the logical conclusion of a healthy, happy birth. And that has a significant toll that's taken on the entire family. And we have put in place services to help families, to help assist them, to help build a support network for them. We have groups that meet to support them. And we have just started in Key West in piloting that. And we're looking forward to being able to move that up the Keys. The playgroups in Islamorada, the Growing Keys Kids is a program that basically provides an environment for parents to learn how to parent their children, to learn how to take on that important role as the first teacher of children. And so we provide them modeling, we provide them an environment that is safe, and we also provide the environment for them to socialize. Because remember, many of our families live down small roads without other families with small children, and they don't get that kind of interaction. So they're inherently a little bit behind frequently when they get to VPK or to kindergarten. So these groups, one of which we hold right here in Founders Park, have been an excellent opportunity for us to make families know or make them aware of the resources that are available in the community. And in the case of a Tot Time group, which is one of the two types of groups we do, we basically we read a book with them, we teach mom and dad or grandma, whoever it is that's bringing the child, how to make a nutritious snack. We teach them how to interact with their child in learning play, learning development. And in the Tot Time group, we're dealing with a little bit older children. So we're usually talking about children that are 18 months to 4 years old. And they get the opportunity to start building those fine motor skills that they need. Now, the littles, we also have a group here that your community participates in at On Your Toes Studio, which is a great example of a partnership that we have with a local community business who assists us and makes their facility available for us to hold these sessions. And it gives an opportunity for parents, again, to get all of that energy out for their littles and hopefully have them sleep at night. But more importantly, to watch how they can learn how to interact with their children so that they can assess their developmental needs, where they can identify if there's something that needs further assessment so that we can get that service to that family. Islamorada has our highest participation rate of the entire Keys in this program. We do an assessment, a community assessment every 5 years, and the thing that shows up on that community assessment every single time is the sense of isolation that these families feel. And so this is an opportunity for families to build their own natural support mechanism, their own natural support group. Because unlike us, we may be here with our family, we may have extended family, but we know that in the Florida Keys, that's simply not the case. That many people start their families here without extended family. And for all of us who have had children and raised children, we know how important that can be. So it's an opportunity to kind of create a substitute network of support for them. Our budget breakdown we've got in your packet, and y'all have previously supported us, and we certainly appreciate that. We would like the opportunity to continue to grow these groups, especially in Islamorada, where there's an increased demand for them. We think that a 15 to 20% growth is probably what we need to be able to address in Islamorada specifically, and our budget request supports that. Obviously, the work that we do is very staff-laden, very heavily staffed, in order to address many littles running around in an environment that we've created. So we want to make sure that their safety, we want to make sure their supervision. So unfortunately, it does require a great deal of staff time to make it happen. But we would like to be able to expand in order to be able to address the demand right here in the villages, or in the village. Do you want to get this to go? There we go. And again, our staff provide education, they provide activities that meet with the group of children that are there. And we typically, in Islamorada, have families that come to every single session we offer. And we are to the point at some of our facilities, not here, but the On Your Toes, where we really have to look about how we can expand it. Because when we open our doors, when the time is set to begin the class, there will be a line of people waiting to come in. And again, this is a quality of life issue for these families that we can really meet at relatively low cost in the big scheme of things. We have lots of different ways. Ooh, gotcha. There we go. We have a lot of different ways you can get in touch with us, where you can find out more information of the services we provide. We use a combination of volunteers, staff, moms, dads, grandparents, everybody really working together to create a great environment for kids to be successful in our community and to develop appropriately so that they're ready to go to school. I'm glad to answer any questions you may have. I think that everything is covered in our package pretty well, but if you do, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Council, are there any questions? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next is Florida Keys History and Discovery Center.
Hello. Thank you so much for having us today. My name's Kayla. I'm the Programs and Marketing Coordinator at the Florida Keys History and Discovery Center. And as we all know, this is Rich Russell, our chair of our board of directors. We are focusing on our youth programs currently, and that is what we are requesting funding for. So we currently have our youth program initiative. One of our biggest programs that we have been doing for the past year and a half is called Storytime. It is a free community program where we offer a story, we offer STEM play, and we offer just an hour for the community to bring in their children to interact with other children, learn about the preservation of history of the Florida Keys, and discover what we have to offer at the museum. So our current Storytime goals are engagement, which would be increasing participation, which means we need to market this program more, which does cost money, unfortunately. And we incorporate engaging activities such as crafts, sing-alongs, and interactive storytelling. Now, with the interactive storytelling, that includes having volunteers coming dressed up as different historical characters, such as postal workers, railway workers, and that sort of thing. We are community building, so we do have quite a few of the same families coming back over and over again, which is a very good sign. And every story time we get a new family, which is very positive. And like I said earlier, we are increasing awareness of story time. This is a big program for us, and one of the goals of the Discovery Center is to take what we already have and really expand on that before trying to expand into new things, because I think this is a great thing for the community. It's very well received, and it's very nice to see all the moms come in happy, gathering with each other, and even dads and grandmothers, and then all the kids starting to know each other and play. So this is actually a photo from our Sunken Treasures program, but this is where we hold story time. We have an area of the museum that is dedicated to our youth, which we are expanding. We have over 100 parents on our email list and an average of 20 kids per story time. Everybody leaves with snacks and a goodie bag. We do a different STEM activity every story time. And I'm usually the reader, but we do get some fun volunteers. Now, with the youth initiative, we are expanding our exhibits into creating kid-friendly overlays. So what that means is currently we have many exhibits downstairs with a screen explaining what the artifacts are, and that screen is not entirely youth-friendly for our young learners. So we are working on creating more interactive exhibit overlays, so there will be a kids mode that they can shift to, and the kids can really get involved in what our history is here in the Keys, because we do have quite a rich history that needs to be preserved. All right. And we are developing new overlays, like I originally said. And this just explains what we are seeking the funds for, and I'm going to turn this over to Rich Russell to discuss our budget.
Thank you, Kayla. She said, come along and sort of fill in my blanks. I don't think I need to fill much in, but she does a great job with that. But one of the things that she alluded to, and I think Councilman Rosenthal may have been the first to pinpoint this, was a deficiency in our offerings. And unfortunately, the deficiency was our very youngest citizens. And so that's the targeted area. You know, we talked about the importance of our youngest citizens learning, our rich and diverse history. Well, let me go a step further, because we are the History and Discovery Center. And so I think it's really incredibly important that they gain knowledge of the unique and highly challenged resources endemic to our area. You know, we're talking about resources like our coral reefs, the Florida Bay, the Everglades, the Biscayne Aquifer. Creating an understanding at the earliest possible age, and by the way, we are doing that, and she said overlays. Really, our vision is to have a kiosk that sisters up to each existing exhibit that would be accessed by our younger children. And creating an understanding at the earliest possible age is the first step toward them becoming part of the solution. I think that's critical, and I hope, and I can't emphasize this enough, this is not our Discovery Center. It's the village's Discovery Center. It is every single member of this community's History and Discovery Center. I hope it's a great source of pride for you. It is for me. And I think expanding these offerings to include the youngest in our community is an incredibly valid goal. I thank you for all the assistance, individually and collectively, that you've given us to date, and I'd ask you to give full consideration to our requests. Any questions?
Any questions for Rich? All right.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, now how about the Good Health Clinic?
Oh, you're a lot taller than me, Rich. Hi, everybody. My name is Kate Bannock, if I haven't met you before, and I've had the honor of serving as Executive Director for Good Health Clinic for just going on 10 years now. I think most of you are at least vaguely familiar with Good Health Clinic, but I think sometimes people don't understand the breadth of what we do, but we are the free clinic for the Florida Keys, and we provide comprehensive health care for those in need. So we do have 2 locations. 20 years we've been here in Tavernier, and then we do have a location now satellited down in Marathon as well. But we are far beyond just those 2 offices. We actually come with this really robust network of volunteer medical providers that include over 100 private practitioners, facilities, hospital entities, other nonprofits that all directly give care to Florida Keys residents through our clinic because they are a patient of our clinic. We also partner with a ton of organizations on the local level, the state level, and national level to bring in resources that include medications, all the supplies, and help us with tangential services for our patients. So we have this huge, robust network, and we're far beyond just, treat and street. If they come in and then we can really help them with all of their problems. To be a clinic patient, you have to be a Florida Keys resident. So we were a nonprofit started by the community for the community. You have to have no health insurance, so we're treating people that really have no other access, and you have to meet certain income guidelines. So that's actually set by the state, but what that looks like is about $45,000 a year for an individual, or a couple that's making $15 an hour full-time working. When we look at the census data for Alamorada, about 10% of your constituents meet our criteria. So roughly, say, 700 people could access the clinic. And it's working people who we're serving. So that was a misunderstanding I had when I started 10 years ago. Our patients are in the dive industry, they're in the restaurants, the lodging, the hotels, they're your laborers for your trades guys. So they're really those key components to our community that are making it functional. And now we have, most people are employed. We do have a section that comes in, which is up there. It's about a third not working. So what that is anecdotally is that's a waitress who sprains her wrists and can't work. And that small business can't afford health insurance because it's ridiculously overpriced. So our goal is to fix those people up and get them back to work so that they're supporting themselves again. Historically speaking, 20% of our patient load is Alamorada residents. So it goes anywhere from 17 to 24 in any given year, but it's about 20% of our workload. And we do, like I said, everything for it. So it is coming in, getting your primary care, it is getting diagnostics and imaging, it is advanced care, it is going and seeing specialists. We have a huge network. We are a nexus for the donations of medical services in this community. I put up there just the women's health thing to see kind of an example of how powerful it can be. We did 250 women's mammograms and ultrasounds. Of that, 5 of them needed biopsies. We covered those biopsies. Of that, 3 of them had cancer identified, and all of them were identified in stage 0 or 1. All of that is survival. All of those women survived. I'm telling you now, they're back at work, they're taking care of their kids, and we are covering that all to make sure that they're doing as well as they can in this community. So, but you guys are really interested. We do this for the entirety of the Keys, but what is Alamorada getting? Because I do think you're in a tough position to have to decide how to spend other people's money. So Alamorada last year, for fiscal year 23, got $1.2 million in services from the Good Health Clinic. So that's a lot of services. We did 600 appointments for you guys. We coordinated 21 surgeries for your residents, repairing knees on fishing captains, fixing trigger finger on your labor guys. All sorts of stuff was done, taking care of the women here. And that was all, at that time, you guys supported us with $10,000. Currently speaking, 132 of your residents are receiving care through us. And they have no other option for care. And that's super clear too. Like if you come into us, like there is no other option on the table for you. Overall, if they're not coming to us, they're using the ER. So that's something that we do for this community, and you guys don't want to be blocked up when you have a real emergency by someone who's using the ER for their primary care because they have no other choice. The ER legally is the only place that can not turn someone away. And we don't have information on this, we don't track it, but 70% of our patients say they're missing less work, so we can't tell how many, but I know we have a lot of people who don't live in Alamorada, they live in Key Largo, but they're working in Alamorada in the businesses. And that's a pretty big percentage of our people as well. And so finally, I just want to say we are requesting $25,000. That is much more than we had received previously, but I want to put out there that you guys are receiving a ton of work. That's less than 5% of our operating budget, and it's covering 20% of our work though. And it's a really good, I've worked for nonprofits for a long time. I've stayed with this one for a really long time because I haven't seen one as effective. Overall, we can transfer $1 donated into $10 in services. If you guys fully funded this, you would be getting almost $50 in services for your residents and helping provide something that 10% of them need access to. So it is really an investment. And again, I just wanted to kind of empower you because you are answering questions to people about why you're spending the money doing this. This is a very basic service that's needed for a pretty significant portion of your population. So other than that, I appreciate the support. You guys helped start the clinic 20 years ago, and we hope that it can continue, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And I put my contact information up there because people call me all the time with patients that need help, and I'm happy to answer those calls.
Council, any questions for Kate? Okay, thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Okay, the History and Diving Museum.
Are we good? I got to figure out which one to go. Okay, so we point back here? Yeah. Hi, my name is Lisa Mangilia. I'm the executive director at the History of Diving Museum. I've was volunteered there for 5 years and have been the executive director for 10. So 15 years, very familiar with the community and who we serve. Okay, is this, which way? There we go. So for those of you who are not familiar with the History of Diving Museum, we are located at mile marker 83. Our building has changed a lot in the 20 years that we've been open, and we serve the community. We're open 362 days a year from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. We have 4 full-time staff, 2 part-time staff, and we're very lucky to have 66 volunteers who put in over 2,300 hours our last fiscal year. We interact last fiscal year with 22,000 visitors that came to the museum. 93% of those were from out of the county. 7% were from in the county. We don't track Alamorada independently. If we're given funding, we can absolutely, it's very easy to add that to our statistics. And a lot of people that come in enjoy the cultural experience, but they also think that we're a visitor center and kind of concierge, so they ask us about restaurants and hotels and who to dive with and who to go out on the water with to go fishing. So we really are serving the community on a whole other than just when they're within our facility. We partner with a lot of other nonprofits, the Art Guild, NOAA, NASA, diving organizations, and we have that collaboration, that history going on, for several years. These are people that we're involved with for fiscal year 2024, and we already have 2025 getting started. So this is just giving you, again, stability, letting you know our successful programming and the different organizations that we work with. We are very proactive with Museums for All, getting some of those underserved families into the museum, military families. We're part of a Blue Star, which active duty is free every day, but during the Blue Star summer program, up to 5 family members can come into the museum, and this allows them, while they're traveling, they're getting situated into Coast Guard base Islamorada, and it gets them familiar with what's going on in the community. For some of our different exhibits, just to give you a reach, we involve students from Key Largo to Key West for the last 7 years in our Dive into Art program. Last year's exhibit is on display at Crane Point Hammock, so it's not just a limited time that the kids are getting to take their grandparents and people that come in town, and they get a chance to show off what they have in a museum. And 2024 is on display down at the Eco Discovery Center in Key West. So these are just ways to help those young students to not only learn about the environment, but also be their visual arts is expanding. We've done different things with creative writing as well to educate those students. And for those of you that don't know, the Bowers, about a little bit more about us, the Bowers formed a nonprofit in 2000, and they opened the History of Diving Museum in 2005. So during that 5 years, actually, when we started, we were the Florida Keys History and Diving Museum, because they were talking with other historians in the area to try to do a joint museum. That didn't come to fruition, so it is now the History of Diving Museum. But Islamorada benefited from that because now you have two wonderful cultural facilities that for our residents and our students. Oh. Click, click. Oh, there we go. Okay, now it's catching up. So I wanted to emphasize our mission. We have artifacts, we have books, we have a lot of things. We have an international collection. But the last sentence in our mission is what speaks to Islamorada. We celebrate the special role of South Florida and the Florida Keys told in the untold story of diving history. Equipment that was made in Miami was brought down to Treasure Harbor and used by Art McKee. Actors and authors would come down to the Keys and dive. So it's a lot of things that have happened through testing, through innovation, that affect us and our cultural heritage. And a lot of that pride needs to go back to, as everybody knows, you got to start with the littles. You got to start with the students, because that brings it up. There's so many times that Dive into Art students bring their parents or, again, their visitors to the museum. And the kid is the one who's the little tour guide because they've been there before, and this is the first time the adults are coming. So we're trying to get that enthusiasm and keep that growing through the young adults and on up, but that doesn't mean we don't serve the adults in our community. We focus on a timeline that's got 14 core exhibits and 2 featured exhibits every year, and through all of these different individual exhibits or programs, it's more opportunity to learn about the local connection to whatever that topic is, whether it's Fantastic Fish of Florida or coral restoration or edge of the sea and the mangroves. Everything is an educational opportunity to what's happening within our boundaries. Successful programming includes Museum in Motion. A lot of times, if you have students, you have grandchildren, you have people in the community, it's so hard to get those kids out of the classroom and into a cultural facility, so we go to them. But we give them a pass so that they can come back to us on their downtime when their parents aren't working. So we go to Museum in Motion and present in the classroom. We've done several different renditions of Dive into Reading that encourages language arts, as well as mentioned before, the Dive into Art programs. Okay. Oh, there we go. For adults and families, we also, for the last almost 20 years, on the third Wednesday of every month, we offer a free presentation that allows people to come in and learn about history, military, environmental issues. If we get this funding, we can promote that more to local Islamorada residents and family. We get Coral Shores High School kids come in. They get extra credit if they attend an outside lecture sometimes. And we also do, on the next slide, there we go, our every day that we're open, it's self-guided, but we have started a program once a month to do a guided tour. And actually, for our residents, we've had people come in do the guided tour, whether they're a member or not, because members come in a lot. But once they go on that self-guided tour, again, when families come in, when kids have a birthday, when they want to do something, now that person that's been on a guided tour is now the person who's the new docent for their family opportunities. We've done for the community treasure treats. We've had Merry Dive Miss. We do things with Santa Claus, again, to offer services to the community that are family orientated. They can come out and do an activity. They can see the exhibits. They can experience that culture in a fun, engaging way. We've done different Love Our Locals opportunities, Mother's Day specials where the mom is free, Father's Day specials, the dad. We do members are your lucky charm for 4th of July or for St. Patrick's Day. But these different programs over the years, we are a nonprofit. We can only do so much, so they ebb and flow. And with your funding, we're hoping to revitalize these to bring the residents back. So they haven't been there for 5 years. Now they can see the new exhibit. They can go back to community and tell them what your students are doing from January to April in the art exhibit. And this just tells you about the different exhibits. Right now we have Salvaging the Deep, Coral Creations. Next year with all the problems with the spinning fish and things, we thought that sustainability would be a good topic for our next dive into art, so we're going to bring that in. We're going to work with Blue Star Fishing Guides. We're going to work with NOAA again. And we're also going to work with the sustainable aquarium trade. Because everybody goes to, you go up to the Frost Museum, you see that big, wonderful aquarium, and now you want to come home and have one for yourself. But we need to make sure that those are ethically sourced and that, I'm not just going to go grab a slurp gun and go grab 3 angelfish off the reef, that we're going to teach in this exhibit about the sustainability. Again, when you start with the kids, it grows. The appreciation and the environmental issues grow. So these are just a couple different examples of openings and getting students involved. With your funding, we're asking for $18,250, and that will be in your packets. You got a spreadsheet, so I didn't want to just put it up on a slide again because you already have this material. And, again, the Bowers chose Islamorada because it was the right fit. Was the Georgia Aquarium? They also opened in 2005. That wasn't where the history of diving needed to be made. Art McKee had the first sunken treasure museum in the world. It's in the world here in Islamorada. That museum's not here anymore, but this is. That legacy and that history is here, and that needs to be shared with our local population. We have people coming in and going and moving, but the people that come in will have a better appreciation if they learn about their new environment, their new community, and who are our neighbors. So if anybody has any questions, one thing I wanted to mention is that I think indirectly we serve all 7,059 students, residents, according to the 2023 census. The Chamber of Commerce has 625 members for businesses that have over 5,000 staff that are in the Islamorada area and working. We serve those indirectly by bringing 22,000 visitors to the area and sending them off to other sites. In addition, directly, those 22,000, we engage with. They're military, they're veterans, there's family, they're multi-generational. The off-site I talked about, the on-site, we do different programming, and of course, our local Ghost Guard. So how would funding us also benefit is all these other wonderful nonprofits. The new students that are certified from iCare can come to the museum and learn about that diving history. The families that are needing our medical help, our food help, give them another avenue of cultural involvement. For the History and Discovery Center, we don't compete with each other. We we complement each other between the land and the sea. And all of these are good ways for the museum to better serve your community, our community where we live. Thank you for your consideration. If you have any questions, I'm available.
Council, any questions? Okay, I just want to say one thing because Art McKee taught me everything I know about treasure diving. I worked for him in 5th and 6th grade and gave tours in that museum. And I was just sitting here thinking while you're talking, it would be so great that if your facility could have been in there. I mean, now I know it's a school, it touches a lot of kids, but I dove with Art, I dove with Kevin. His son Kevin has passed on now. Kevin used to have a lease up in Vera with Mel Fisher, those sites, but you know, it was an amazing opportunity to grow up. Art McKee also drove, when I went to Catholic school in Homestead for a couple of years, Art drove our bus, and he actually would treat us to Dairy Queen every day, a 25-cent cone. But it brings back a lot of memories. So I'm sharing a long time. But he's a really good man, and you know, he paid me 50 cents an hour. And one day he came to me and he says, "Don't tell anybody. I'm going to give you a raise. I'm going to give you 55 cents an hour." So he was a great guy, though. The whole family. So.
Well, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Surfrider Foundation.
All right. Hello.
Hey, how we doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Hi. My name is Katie Kleek, and I'm the Vice Chair for the Florida Keys chapter of the Surfrider Foundation. If you all have not heard of Surfrider before, you might be wondering what surfers may be doing in Islamorada, where we have no waves and no beaches. And we are actually a nonprofit that is dedicated to the protection and the enjoyment of the world's oceans, waves, and beaches for all people through a powerful activist network. There are over 200 Surfrider chapters throughout the country, and today is actually the 40th year anniversary for the organization. So we were founded on Surfrider Beach out in California, so that's where the name comes from. All right, and what do we do here? We do a lot of things, but we're probably most known for our coastal cleanups. So we do cleanups all throughout the Keys. There is some data on the screen for the amount of debris that we have picked up in the village of Islamorada in the past 2 years. So in 2024 so far, we have picked up a little over 1,700 pounds of debris over 5 cleanups. And these range from shoreline cleanups to paddleboarding cleanups, but yes. And this data is available online at cleanups.surfrider.org. So this that you see here is a summary of the debris that we have picked up throughout the Keys in the past 2 years. So almost 20,000 pounds. I'm sure we will get that by the end of this year. We do a lot more than just cleanups, though. So we have a Blue Water Task Force program, which is a water quality lab, and this is located at Ocean Studies Charter School up in Key Largo, and we are testing for Enterococcus bacteria, but 3 of our 4 testing sites are located in the village of Islamorada. So this program is focused on filling in the gaps for the Florida Healthy Beaches program. So we test in areas that they do not. And we also have the capability of increasing testing and testing more frequently than they do as well. This data is also publicly available on our website. We post every time we do a testing. They're grayed out on the screen because we had some delays because of school being out for summer break. But we just tested this past week and all levels were low, which is really great, especially with the amount of rain that we've been getting lately. If we ever get high levels of bacteria, we share that information with the village of Islamorada and Monroe County. Additionally, we prioritize local and state campaigns. So you may remember our chapter in June of 2022, we celebrated the passage of House Bill 105, banning cigarette smoking on Islamorada parks and beaches. So that's directly related to our mission because cigarette butts are one of the main things that we see in beach cleanups, not only just here, but all over the country and the globe. We also focus on state and national policy as well. So it's really important that our chapter is able to travel to Tallahassee and to DC annually with Surfrider to represent Islamorada and the Florida Keys. We also have an ocean-friendly restaurants program. So this is a free program that if a restaurant is able to meet certain criteria, they can be certified as an ocean-friendly restaurant. So this recognizes businesses that are committed to cutting out single-use plastics primarily. We have one ocean-friendly restaurant here in the village of Islamorada. That's Gardenia's Bistro. That's up at Island Home Garden Center on Plantation Key. Similar to the Ocean Friendly Restaurants program, we have an Ocean Friendly Gardens program. This is one of our newer programs, but it's also a free program. If a public or private garden meets certain criteria, they can be certified. And the goal of this program is to reduce runoff from our land and our small cities that we have here from contaminating the Atlantic and the Florida Bay. We've been getting involved with Monroe County and the University of Florida Extension to help them with their compost workshops and promoting them. So we actually, last month, we were at a compost workshop up at Coral Isles Church where they just got a drop-off. So we'll be helping them with promoting that and sharing where residents can drop off their food scraps, and that will help create nutrient soil and also reduce the amount of waste that's going into the landfill. Surfrider's newest program is our Climate Action Program. This program utilizes nature-based solutions to help fight climate change and protect our shorelines. So the photos that you see here are from the program launch up in Miami, where we helped with some dune restoration. What this would look like here in the Keys would be more like mangrove restoration projects. So we're really excited about the future of this program and the opportunity here. So our funding requests, I'll go over very quickly. We're requesting $10,000 total in a variety of categories. So first off is that Blue Water Task Force program. So currently, annually, this costs us about $2,000 to run and operate. We test 4 sites. Once again, 3 of those were here in the village of Islamorada, and we test them 1 time a month. So we want to expand and increase this. So either testing 2 times a month, these 4 sites, or also adding in an additional site here in Islamorada. This is kind of the central location. A handful of our board members live here, and it's also, passing distance for people that live farther south to get up to that lab in Key Largo. So this is kind of the hub for our water quality testing. So if we were to increase 1 additional site, that would bring us up to about $2,500 annually. If we were to increase the 4 sites that we have twice a month, that would bring us up to about $4,000. And if we wanted to go crazy and do 5 sites 2 times a month, that would bring us up to about $4,800 annually for this lab. We also use no single-use plastic. Everything is out of glass, and we have autoclave that we sterilize those sampling beakers as well. Additionally, the annual operating expenses to run this chapter, we are pretty small. We don't have too much, but this mostly would go to funding those cleanup supplies and chapter supplies that we need to just keep us running and operating, being able to provide gloves, buckets, grabbers, things that people and residents can come and participate in cleanup safely, as well as travel as well. So since most of the things we do are here in Islamorada, we do have board members that are in Marathon and Key West that will travel up to support events when a handful of us cannot. So being able to make sure that we are compensating them for their travel is important too. Community outreach is another one of our priorities. We like to do a lot more than just cleanup, so we like to host free events for the community to attend. We have hosted a handful of film screenings at Angler House. We did one on sustainable seafood with Soraya Films 2 years ago, and then last year we hosted one on Everglades conservation and wildfires. And then we also host regular public chapter meetings at Florida Keys Brewing Company, as well as attending all those community events like iCare's Trash Derby, Art Walks, being able to show our presence in the community to be able to increase volunteers and membership is really important for us to stay active in the community here. Finally, conference and advocacy expenses. So this will help send our board members up to Tallahassee and DC so that we can represent Islamorada and the Florida Keys for applicable policy. And that is it. So thank you so much for your time and consideration. If you have any questions, please let me know. I also have some brochures if you guys are interested in more details of our programs. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, United Way, Collier and the Keys is up next.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Leah Stockton. I am the Keys Area President for United Way of Collier and the Keys. I want to start by saying thank you for the support last year and all of the engagement that the villages of Islamorada have had with United Way over the years. Let's see if I can get the clicker to work. That's right. There we go. All right, we're moving along. We're moving along. Okay, so a little bit about United Way. For anyone that doesn't know, every local United Way is their own 501c3. We each have our own local board, do our own fundraising, set our local community impacts. We belong to United Way Worldwide, just like one of your businesses would belong to a Chamber of Commerce. And here in the Florida Keys, one of the programs that we have had for many years now is Dolly Parton Imagination Library. We are the only local organization providing this service. And the Dolly Parton Imagination Library program is an established, verified national program. Our outreach efforts target those most in need of this service. You've heard many people here today talk about the financial challenges in the community, but our program is available to all. It's very important for parents and their children to be able to boost those early literacy skills so that they are ready for school. Okay, a little bit more about Dolly Parton Imagination Library. We have mailed thousands of books over the last decade. Every community has to have a local Dolly Parton Imagination Library affiliate. So here in the Keys, United Way has always been that Dolly Parton affiliate, and we help parents register with their child. It's a one-page enrollment form, and then all we ask is that they spend time reading with their child. Many of the books are bilingual. They're high quality, chosen by early literacy experts. This slide here shows that we want to continue to grow the program. Monroe County School District has a goal for this year of 60% proficiency for literacy, and we're helping students get toward that goal by starting them early and helping them to develop those early literacy skills that are so critical so they can go on to succeed in school. Our expansion of the program is directly tied to our ability to fundraise for the program. Okay, as we look at what the costs are, last year in Islamorada, 29 children were enrolled in the program. It's $180 for a child to stay in the program for the full 5 years. So a family builds up a library of 60 books over that time. So the 29 children last year, that's $5,220, of which we received $3,000 from the Village of Islamorada. So thank you for that support. For this year, we are requesting 3,500 more, and that will enroll more than 30 additional children in the program. We're only asking for the 3,500 because we feel that's the amount that we can grow year by year here, limited to children in the village with this specific request. This is a really important program. This is actually my daughter, who is one of the very first children enrolled in this program, and we have loved it. I can speak as a parent and as the person who runs this program. It's amazing. 43%, you guys have heard me do my Alice report before, 43% of the households in Monroe County struggle paycheck to make ends meet. If you are wondering how you're gonna put food on the table or a roof over your head, the last thing you are thinking about is buying books for your children. But if we wanna break that cycle and we want our children to succeed in school and then go on to have a better life for themselves, we have to start early. 0 to 3 is the most critical developmental age for a child, and that is the importance of this program, is to create those habits that can continue for life. And this just talks a little bit more about how we continue to run a successful program with a proven track record here in the community. We look forward to expanding it as well. We're constantly fundraising, just like everybody sitting behind me. We are constantly fundraising to be able to run these programs. It's only $36 per child per year, so that's a great return on investment when you look at what it could bring into a child's life. We're also continuing to enroll. We would ask everyone here today, many of the people sitting behind me already enroll their clients' children in the program, and we're attending events, social media, et cetera, with new babies born every year, there's always a ready audience. The demand for the program exceeds the ability for expansion pending additional funding. And with that, we have a QR code here. If anybody wants to enroll a grandchild or child here in Monroe County right here and now, go ahead. You know, the children in this picture, this is someone that I've known for many years, actually since I was at Healthy Start. Someone I've known for many years. These children have been involved in the Dolly Parton Imagination Library program since birth. They are now both straight A students at a local Monroe County school. So that just speaks volumes, I think, right there. And with that, I would like to thank you for your consideration. We're not going to get to the last slide, so you're just going to have to, there we go. Thank you for your consideration. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer those.
Any questions for Leah?
No, but I know you just made a really lovely presentation. They've all been lovely, but do you realize it's one book a month for each kid?
Yes.
For the first 4 years. That's the thing. It's one every month you get a book. Every kid. I mean,
and they're addressed to the child too. It's great. Yeah, every month. So by the time they're finished, it's 60 books mailed to them. Like I said, they sign up, the books start coming, and they're so proud of it. You wouldn't believe the number of children that want to tell me about their books, show me about their books. The parents say it's like Christmas every month when the book comes in the mail. So.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Upper Key.
Good afternoon, good early evening. Thank you for having me. I'm Joe Molinaro. I'm one of the founders of the Upper Keys Baseball Development Foundation, and I want to thank you for your generosity last year in helping our program continue. I'm a Coral Shores graduate, also a baseball player, football player for the school a long time ago, so Rich was my coach a long time ago. And to give you some background of how this program started was about 5 years ago, I was asked to coach the Coral Shores baseball team with some other coaches. And when we took over the program, this was about 2020, and coming out of COVID, we just saw the lack of the fundamentals the kids had, and they just really weren't prepared to compete against teams to our south and, of course, teams to our north. I mean, this is Florida. We have wonderful weather. You're able to play sports 365 days a year, and just we were so unprepared. And we saw this in our first season, and I thought to myself, what can we do differently? And that's what the Steady Bats is, our program under Upper Keys Development Foundation that started. And what we wanted to do was give the players the opportunity to train with the best coaches and the best facility that we have here at Founders. We actually practice here at Founders 2 nights a week. And give them the opportunity to learn baseball in the off season. So we practice 2 nights a week from the middle of July to the middle of December. And the goal is to get these kids prepared for their seasons, whether it's Little League, high school, college. So we open it up to girls and boys ages 9 to 19. Okay, and so the goal is to teach them the fundamentals of the game, have them more prepared, because if you're more prepared, you're going to have more success. And that season was just a tough one for us. I got to coach with another coach who was actually a Major League Baseball player. He played for 12 years, had tons of success in the major leagues, in college, and also coached. So I saw the opportunity that we needed to harness this while we had it. Both he and my kid were the same age. We started coaching when they were 14. And at that point, I don't know if you know this, but in the Keys, from the ages at 14, you don't have Little League anymore, and you don't have baseball. You don't have a program. You're not in high school yet. So we actually started the first middle school baseball team together, and we We started that team, and it's ongoing now, which is great. We love it. There's more baseball going on today than there was 5 years ago, which we're really proud of. So coming into that first year was coming out of COVID. And so we didn't only struggle with the fundamentals of baseball and the strength and just understanding the game, we also had a problem with mental health and their mental ability to really communicate. And if a kid can't communicate, he's not listening. He's not talking back to you and understanding what he's being taught. He's not communicating. So I saw the opportunity to bring in a mental health counselor who happens to be Pamela Molinaro, who's my wife. And she said, yes, she would do that. So she coached with us at the Coral Shores, and now she's also been a coach at Steady Bats. For us, and it really opened up the kids. It was great. One kid who just didn't communicate very well became our MVP the next season, and we really thought that had to do with the ability of her to observe, her to just ask questions, her to just be there for the kids, and she's there for anything they may need. It may not even be baseball related, but we feel like the program, baseball provides this outlet to have her help kids come in and play baseball and do what they need to do. So we really see the success of the program. We have 80 registered players that have registered with us over the last 4 years. It continues to grow. We have great support. We get a grant. We got a grant from you guys last year. We got one other grant. We have a lot of corporate sponsorships that help. The costs are high. Equipment costs a lot. Baseballs are very expensive. Some of the things we continue to expand. We bought a lot of equipment. We bought machines that help with our practices. And the great thing about it is we don't only use it for Steady Bats. We provide it to the school. So the baseball team here gets to use all this equipment, gets to use the nice screens that we put out there. When I came on here, it was kind of hilarious what the school had. So we provided this, created this program so we could raise money and really put it into baseball in this community. We want to build a culture in the Upper Keys like there's baseball culture to our north and our south. We really want them to be more competitive and grow self-esteem, increase self-esteem, increase their confidence, and become future leaders here in our community or elsewhere, because sports does help become leaders. I was a player here, I led the team here, and it helped me on in my career, whether it was business or whatever it may be. And we also want them to have fun. We like to have a good time with them. The last thing I'll finish with is the success story. So over that 4 or 5 year period, we didn't have any players go on to college. And one of the players that started with us in the middle school team, he was a tiny little string bean. And he ended up heading off to college this year, and he really took it to heart, because we don't only want him to practice during practice sessions. We want him to take it home with them. We want them to practice on their own. He would do everything we asked of him and more, do it on his own, and we tell everybody, this is the product of what we're trying to teach here. He did all that on his own. He got signed, and he's going to play in college, and that's what we're trying to do with these kids. And obviously, we want to compete. We want Coral Shores to be successful, and we want our kids to be successful. So with that, I want to thank you guys very much.
Okay, thank you. Hold up. Henry, you have a question?
You're paid as a coach, is that correct? You don't have to tell me how much, but you are.
We do that, but we only pay through corporate sponsorships. We don't pay with any grant money.
But it's...
And it's very little.
It's not much.
No.
So there again, I put notation, he's worth going for $8,000. I'm willing to make it 10. Well, you can shake your head no. I'm not shaking my head. I'm not, well, I'm just saying, because I know they need more just to pay these guys. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay. The last one is Upper Keys Youth Lacrosse League.
Hello, and thank you for letting me present today. My name is Dominique Hickory, and I am the founder and president of the Upper Keys Youth Lacrosse League. I'm excited to kind of share a little bit about what we do here in Islamorada. We run out of Founders Park a full league of lacrosse players ages 3 up till 14 years old, or 8th grade, which is kind of a gray area. We don't have a lot of sports down here that start that young and go that old, where they can stay through the program the whole time. I want to kind of share our mission and our impact here on the community. We are a pioneering program that is a non-pay-to-play sport. So in our sports world, every single parent has to pay to play their kids, and as you heard today, there's a lot of need for not having funding for their medical expenses, their kids' health care, schooling, dental, all of that. And we believe that no kid should have to not play a sport because of their parents' financial boundaries. I forgot I had a slide for you. So yes, we do start at 3 years old. This is one of our little guys. My son currently plays as a 3-year-old, going on 4-year-old. And then we go up to our 11 and 12 program, but we are expanding now to that 14-year-old program as they work their way through. Going on, so in 2021, I did start this. Coming out of Coal Shores, I was coaching the girls lacrosse team, and we saw an issue with all of our kids coming in and saying, "What's lacrosse?" And we're getting beat down. Our kids were getting hard on themselves because they were coming from other counties, just really doing really well in the game, and we weren't because we didn't have those fundamental skills. So we started with 26 registered players. As of this year, we had 105 registered players, and we're looking at 150 this year. Going with that, if you saw, I'll go back really quick. Every single team actually does not have legal or unified uniforms. You have to have numbers on both sides, you have to have regulations, they have to match shirts and tops, which actually adds a even bigger expense on the families. For uniforms, they're about $75 per uniform. So we want to be able to provide that as well for our kids, so our families aren't paying a registration fee, then also having to pay their uniforms. And it will definitely help us with equality, diversion, inclusion of all of our kids here in the Upper Keys, and we do also run out of Islamorada. I'll go on. I put a little cost breakdown for you. We have to follow the USA Lacrosse Guidelines, which is the governing body of lacrosse. If you look here, you have helmets, elbow pads, gloves, sticks, uniforms, chest protectors, pennies, your lacrosse membership that you have to play. Then you're looking at registration fees. You're looking at $650 a year just for you to let your kid go out there and try a new sport, which what we do in our league, we provide everything. So we have gone out, when I started this with my husband, gone out to our community, and we asked and got out there, and we actually have everything for 150 kids to outfit them head to toe for all the parents in the Upper Keys. So it's all league owned. We're doing that for 5 years. About everything's good in regulation. We don't have to worry about it. Parents don't have to worry about it. And we're able to just let the kids be out there and not be like, hey, you don't have a helmet. You can't be out here unless your parents go and buy you one. So we are able to bring that in. We also partnered with the Children's Center. They're allowed to just bring their kids out there and just let them play. They just have to sign a waiver. Instead of being like, hey, how are we going to pay for our kids to go out there if they want to play a sport? So we also partner with a lot of people down here just so they're able to know their kids can come and they don't have to pay. These are our prospective uniforms, so they're all going to be the same across the board. We do entice a family atmosphere. All of our older kids also play with our younger kids. We are a partner with the high school. I started a officials association with our high school, so our high school players have to come down and also work with them. It's part of the family atmosphere we're looking for. So what we're asking is help funding with the uniforms to help it be an inclusive sport for all, so no kid is in the position of like, hey, my family can't afford that. Or they have to choose a sport and they can only play one, because of all the registration fees, of the uniform fees, of the equipment fees. So we are more than just a program. We are a family atmosphere. We really want to bring it for the love of our community together so we can all just be out there and having fun for the kids. We know how great it is for mental health and our kids in school and being out in the world and on the field. It's just better. So thank you so much for your consideration. If you have any questions, my number is in all the paperwork. Any questions?
Just want to say something. Once again, I know the coaches are not paid up to any par. I'm just going to say it so they can hear me. If they could up your amount, $2,000 earmarked for the coaches. That's all. If I could do it myself, I would, but I need help. So I'm just saying what I'm saying. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'd like to say thank you for all your effort that you saw a need. You know, my 6-year-old grandson plays roller hockey in Key West, baseball and that, and it's so cool seeing the camaraderie and seeing these kids bond together and everything. So what it does for the family, what the young man before you was talking about the mental health that, you know, I mean, it goes on for life. So thank you so much for everybody this is all intertwined. I believe all of it. Listening to all you guys gets a little emotional at times though. So, all righty, thank you. Okay, let's see. Council, do we have any further discussion regarding budget or, yeah. Mr. Cole, can we let these people, we're done with?
Sure. There will not be any decisions tonight. They get made during the budget process. So if we're done with the presentations, everyone is free to leave for the evening. Thank you so much for having attended and presented. And we look forward to letting everyone know the outcome once we have our budget hearings in September.
And thank you for coming and giving us your time on a Friday afternoon. And thank you.
Thank you for what you do.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, yeah.
Are we finished?
It should be.
Okay, so we are on to, right now, further questions regarding budget workshops if needed. This is for council, yeah. Because the next question is just council discussion.
Oh, sorry, you're asking about sorry, could you repeat what you just said? I couldn't hear you.
Okay, I'm reading off the agenda, what it says. Mr. Cole, can you explain, please?
Sure. I think item 5 was to allow council to ask any additional questions about the staff presentations and workshops from Wednesday and Thursday. So if there are any questions, we'll try to field them. If we need additional feedback from staff, I'll collect that in return because they're not here this evening, but that was the purpose of item 5.
Okay. All right. So does that?
I do have an item.
Question?
Yeah, thanks. I couldn't hear what you said. You know, I certainly enjoyed the last 2 days of being here with you together, having the camaraderie. It's been great. After yesterday's workshops, you know, it had it came to our attention that some very egregious inconsistencies in policy and administration, I'm not sure which one comes first, really caused a situation where we were put in a position, this council was put in the position to authorize expenditures that never should have been spent and really put us into a position of I think, real liability. And without going into those details, because they were discussed in our executive session, upon reflection, I would like to request that we ask our manager to create some sort of a report about what happened there, and then also outline some sort of procedure so that this council and the following councils aren't put in a position to act in such to act to make decisions with that really are frankly pretty alarming. And so that's a question. I would also want to be very clear that I appreciate in every way the fact that that these issues were brought to us by our manager and our legal team and our HR person, and if it was just if it's just some oversight, I'd say, hey, you know what, we all make mistakes, let's move on. But a lot of taxpayer money was spent without our authorization, and yet, without our knowing authorization. I'm horrified, actually. I don't mean to be alarmist, but I'm pretty alarmed. So the question I have for you is, would you like to give direction to our manager to give us a very clear report on what happened in this situation, and the procedure that should be followed moving forward so that doesn't happen again?
My personal opinion is we had a manager at the time, and I think last night when we sat here in our executive session and we clarified and I believe that we resolved the problem. That's what we're here for. And I think at that point, I think we gave our staff the direction to our negotiating team to fix this, and I believe that we need to move forward. But I don't think there's a need to keep burdening our staff with more stuff and more stuff and more stuff. That's just my personal opinion. Each one of us can throw our own part in. She's talking about the executive session.
Right. That's just the executive session, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. Some inconsistencies, some very egregious inconsistencies were brought to our attention.
Came to some conclusion and direction for the staff.
We did.
Yes, and we did. So,
yep.
What more do you want than that?
Yeah, and thank you for that question. So clearly, some procedure is not happening so that we got ourselves into that position where you, Henry, were asked to sign off on something that you had no idea you were doing it. Neither did I, neither did anyone sitting up here.
Talking about last night?
No. In December,
December of last year,
we were sitting here and we were asked to approve an overage of the budget to cover something that that shouldn't have happened. And
I don't recall that, but
that's exactly right. You don't.
I don't.
And nor did I. And you should be concerned, and so should I, and so should our taxpayers. And I would like a report. It's a standard operating procedure when you have.
We're talking beyond last night.
We're talking about the future of the town.
Talking about before whatever got amended. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to, and council has been very careful because obviously we had a number of discussions in executive session, and I don't want it to come out, but I just want to caution everybody, and like I said, council has been very careful not to get into the issues because of that. But just a reminder, what was discussed in executive session, please be careful, obviously, when discussing it. Sorry, but
thank you for that. I appreciate it. I'm trying to.
My comment on that is. I agree with your sense of outrage at the egregiousness about what happened. I won't elaborate on that for the reasons that John just said, but I'm looking at and I appreciate what you want to do, but I'm looking forward instead of backwards. Those who I feel were responsible for those decisions and should have been held accountable no longer work here. So, I don't know what that report, which would take, we're putting the manager's time and energy and resources to get that. But I think we've learned a lesson, but he could certainly interpret that in a way to present a policy to us and to those who follow us into the future that, for example, when that event comes up 3 years from now, there will be participation as we've had. That's the first time that ever happened, as far as I know. And those problems would not have occurred had that happened. And the people that were responsible for engaging us in that, as I said, should be held accountable, but they're not here anymore. So, can't beat a dead horse or something like that. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but I would rather move forward than backwards, and I'd rather the manager use his very valuable talent, and he has that. We've seen that, and time and effort and resources to focus on how to get through these big books in the future. That's just my personal opinion. But you raised a valid point, and we're all upset by it. I was upset by it, but it's water under the bridge. It's money spent. Can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, whatever you want to call it, and got to go forward.
But we're not through with the budget yet.
No, we're not. We're not.
Okay, Vice Mayor Mahoney, go ahead. You have the floor.
I unfortunately agree with everybody else, Elizabeth. To bring this forward is just going to cause more problems than good. It's done. It's over with. None of us are happy about it, but I don't understand the reasoning for you to do what you want to do. It's just going to be another black mark that, the people aren't here anymore, like Mark said. It won't happen again, I don't think. And again, I don't think looking back is going to solve anything except more comments that nobody wants. So I don't agree that there should be a report. I'm sorry.
Well, and I have to say, thank you, Mr. Cole, for organizing and doing what you did that had never been, done before. I hope I'm okay just to say that, Mr. Quick, how we did it so that the council was involved and we were abreast of everything. So thank you.
I agree.
Just in closing, then, I would like to express my deep disappointment that this body of elected officials are not moving forward on something that is absolutely an issue that we should be addressing. You all are elected to represent the taxpayers and their money, and we're going to push this under the rug and not address it. And in any other organization, any private organization, any government entity would look at something like we just learned about, there would be a report. There would be, and I just would, I would just, yes, the outcome is, what is the policy? The actual, if I could just finish.
Yeah, I know, never mind.
And then I just want to finish, and then I will drop it.
She wants to scold us. So
I am going to. I am absolutely going to. What happens when you have this kind of problem internally is there is a report, and so that we all are clear. And then there is an established policy moving forward so that it doesn't happen again. I am beyond disappointed, but I will drop it now.
That last night.
We did not. There is no formal policy. There is no formal explanation. I don't actually personally, unless everyone else here knows something I don't, which is very possible, I do not know how I was put into a position where I was asked to vote on something that should never have happened and cost the taxpayers millions of dollars. And that's it. I'm glad that you register my deep disappointment for this body's lack of civic responsibility.
I would just like to take issue with your characterization of how we handled it, of not wanting to fulfill our civic duty. We can't get back what we have lost, and we can't really talk about that until that job is finished. When that's finished, I'm happy to talk more about it. I probably won't be sitting here, though, but maybe when the Sunshine Law no longer applies, we can have a chat about it, because it's going to take a while to put that in place. But I think our staff understands what happened. I know the manager and the village attorney and the HR know what happened, and I can't conceive of them allowing that to happen again, having learned what we learned.
Well, doesn't it depend on who's sitting in those positions? And you and I having a private conversation once the Sunshine Law is over, I'm not interested. I'm interested in this.
I hear that a lot, by the way, from other.
I'd like to talk about a bunch of things with you, but not this one. If everyone here knows how we got into a situation that we discussed in our executive session, Well, that's a problem as well. Anyway, I think you have registered my disappointment, and I would also follow up, Mark, in that we are apparently going to be resolving our bargaining, and surely while we're all still sitting on this dais. So if what you're doing is extending or changing your mind, and that we'd like to bring this up on the public, on this dais in October or September or October, is that what I'm hearing you say?
I'll do it when we're finished doing what we have to do with the deal. But what I took issue with was the term sweeping it under the rug.
Exactly what
I'm not interested in that at all. To the contrary, it needs to come out and be discussed, and the public should learn about it. But now isn't the time.
Now, I am not asking for this to happen now, not before we finish our bargaining, but what I'm hearing you say is that once that's done, and that should happen in the very near future, you would like to see a full report and a policy.
I'd like to talk about it. I don't want to put the manager to work. I don't know how long that thing could take. This could be a rabbit hole that takes a lot of
The
time.
manager is, this is not about the manager's workload. This is about us directing the manager to work for this council and for the betterment of our community. That's what it's about. It's not about a workload.
Well, maybe we can get close to something that satisfies you by just having that conversation.
No.
And then after that, we can talk about a report. But I don't want to do that now. We got too many other things going on.
I just fully, again, well, I'll just.
Oh, you know what, Elizabeth,
I will
all
just
of us see.
continue to say that we,
Okay.
as a body, are being
Can you let me speak one
astoundingly
second? We've given you the floor for how long? Okay, excuse me. All of us see through different islands. And as Mark just said a minute ago, the staff people that when that took place are not even here anymore, okay? Now we are trying to move forward. We're trying to go to a better future and be more transparent, all right? But what good is it going to do us to try to keep going back and we get beat up all the time. We just with the Eagle thing. None of us sitting here did anything to do with the Eagles. None of us. But we get accused that we were the ones, we're doing it, okay? I don't like that either, okay? But then I know the truth. There's all about facts, okay? And she talked to the main Eagle lady that knows how many sticks were in the thing. I'm just using that as an example.
I'm not talking about Eagles
Okay.
right now.
I know you're not talking about Eagles.
Even for
okay?
me, it's more
But
important.
you know what? Okay, well.
And that's not a lie.
That's a federal bird, but I don't, and they're.
I'm talking about 7,000 taxpayers and their money and how we are fiscally being irresponsible right now.
Okay. Well, you can say no, because I was
no. We were asked.
We are working with a staff that is fixing, hopefully this is going to be fixed, okay? And you know what? Those of us that are on council will follow up with it, all right? If I get put back on council again, I'm going to follow all of us right here. But I think we all, this was unity, man, that we feel, and we just got done. Mr. Quick just told us that this is an executive session at this point. So I don't have anything else further to say. Any council have anything else? Okay, thank you. Okay, so do we have council discussion any further? Mr. Cole, do you want to summarize anything moving forward?
No, sir. All I'll say is that we received the feedback and direction from council to prepare a tentative budget at a particular millage rate. We're going to proceed accordingly, and when we convene back in September for the budget hearings, we'll have opportunity to conclude our discussions from tonight, discuss the millage rate a little bit further and the budget more generally, and make some real decisions at that point. I want to thank everyone who's participated in these budget workshops on the staff side. It was an extraordinary effort on all of their behalfs. I want to thank council for asking good questions, keeping us on point, and I look forward to the next session when we can actually hopefully head in the direction of adopting a final budget that allows us to serve the Isla de Mirada community as we have in the past, and even better moving forward. Thank you.
Mr. Cole, council, Vice Mayor Mahoney wants to say something.
I think after I've gotten a bunch of phone calls and talked to a bunch of people about doing the budget, that it might be best served if we, in the for transparency, put our legal services out for bid, just to make sure we are getting the best that we got, and everybody is happy with the decision that we are going to make. Does anybody else want to see that happen?
No.
Well, I know you don't, so.
Does somebody want to talk to her to tell her what we're doing?
I don't.
Okay, all right. She walked out, so.
That's her choice.
That's her choice. Okay, go ahead.
Nothing. I just want to know if the council's interested in it.
I agree.
And Henry, how do you feel? Just for transparency, so we know, because we seem to
What do you-
pick
what
and-
answers
let me
are
just
you
finish. Let me finish my sentence. We seem to pick and choose what we put out for bid and what we want to check prices on. This is just doing our due diligence to make sure for the community we are getting the best that we should have. That's all. I'm not questioning them.
What
We
goal
talked.
are you trying to improve upon? You want to save money, or you want a better service, or
I
both?
have not a clue. I think we owe it to the
You
community.
don't have a clue.
Well, Mark, that's not very nice.
It's not nice, because what you're trying to do is
No, it's
disrupt
not.
something that we've been doing very, very well with, and there's no apparent need. This is coming out of the blue.
No, it's not. There's not. You're just because you have your set of.
Sharon, tell us what you want to do, what you're thinking about.
I just want to put it out for bid to see what's out there. Our legal services, to see if we, Mark, you don't have to agree.
I'm
with
not.
me. Well, Gee, I can see that.
I agree that I don't have
Well,
to.
okay, so you're not the only one up here. Maybe everybody else might just want to be transparent to the community. I love John, he knows that, and I think what they do is wonderful. But doing what we're supposed to do as a council is to explore and get the best for the taxpayers, which I know we have, but at least this will be the answer that seals it.
I have the answer. I've been working with him and his firm for 20 years off and on. I know all I need to know. I'm super happy.
You are not the community. You are
I'm a
one
representative
person.
of the community,
Okay.
just like you. You need to do your homework instead of taking it out on somebody
we all
else.
knew you were going to do this. And this is, okay, you've talked. Henry, how do you feel, and how do you feel?
Henry, go ahead. You got the floor.
Yeah. I would put it out for bid, quite frankly, because I don't know who's out there and what they're capable of. When Roger was here, he was not a litigator, and he passed the work on to somebody else, possibly your firm, no, not your firm. Seemed to work. I would probably, if it's out to bid and see what comes back, take a closer look at an in-house attorney and the outside attorney. Whether you could fill the outside or not is beyond me. I have no problems with you, but I would like to have an in-house attorney. That's just personal. So if we put it out for bid, let's just see what comes back. I'm not looking for anything better, but there might be. So we have failed to put so much out to bid. I've been here 4 years. I've seen it so often when things should have been put out to bid and that never happened. So there's no failure in putting it out for bid. I'm not after anything in particular, but it's just of information that might be helpful. That's all. How do you feel?
Okay, so let me ask you a question, Mr. Cole. I mean, we don't have to do this right this moment, but can't we do this at a regular council meeting? This is...
Yeah, what would happen is if there's general interest amongst council in issuing an RFP and inviting Weiss Serota to respond to that as well, we would begin to prepare one, circulate it amongst council, make sure that it covers all the right bases and that it has in there what everyone wants it to have. Then we, after that, would present it at a public meeting where you can make an actual vote on it in, perhaps September or October, depending on the timing of that. Get it issued, schedule presentations where the firms come in and present to council about their respective proposals, and then you would provide direction to council, or to staff rather, following the conclusion of that RFP presentation process. If that sounds about right, that's what we'll do.
Okay, well,
If I could add, I mean, I get numerous calls, as everybody does, complaining about everybody. All of you, everybody. That person has to go. Staff people, that person has to go. They have reasons, they call me. It just goes on and on and on. But that's the nature of the business. This is not a...
I'd like to let Mr. Quick talk for a minute, because I personally like Weiss Serota. I know I've known him like Mark for a long time. I knew Nina. I know Lily. Nina's no longer there, but they have a very broad depth, and they're very well connected in the whole state of Florida. Just John, give us we'll give you the floor for a minute to.
I don't want to speak too much on it because I don't want to be seen as potentially influencing the process. In case we bid, I'd have to see if we're talking in-house. Obviously, I'm not eligible to bid. If we're talking beyond that, then we'd have to analyze the RFP, and we may submit a proposal depending on. You have to take each one at its own individual thing. The only thing I would ask is, as a professional courtesy, if it's the will of the council, I would just ask that you not drag it out, continuing the discussions just as a professional courtesy to me.
Okay, Mark.
The process obviously can take as long. I just mean the decision of whether or not to send it out to bid.
Hiring a law firm to represent us is probably one of the most consequential and important decisions that we make as a body. He is our shield and our sword. And when we need him, he's always there. And I don't mean just him. He's got an army of lawyers behind him.
I understand, Mark.
This is not freebie, and I don't mean that insultingly to you, but you may take it that way, unfortunately. But this is a very different kind of service. It's personal, it's professional, it's the tip of the spear in how we deal with threats to us and how we capitalize on opportunities. And they have proven for 20 years, off and on, that they can do the job. And where we're at, we're in what's called, as you know, the area of critical state concern. And there's, I think, 5 of those in the country, in the whole state. 2 of them here in Monroe County, Key West and the rest of the Keys. And there's I could probably count them on my hand, number of law firms that would be minimally competent to handle issues right away without schooling up, without going through a learning curve, to figure out how to do this kind of work, because it takes a while. And I still am learning. I bet John still learns. There's new stuff all the time. The legislature, nobody's safe when they're in session. They're doing all kinds of stuff. So, to put this out to bid, do you want to save money? Well, if you want to do that, stop giving them work. That's the easy. We are the throttle on the finance part. If you think you can find a better lawyer, good luck. Right. Okay, that's all I'll tell you. And I've been a lawyer for almost 40 years, and I worked with him. I worked in the government. I've done all kinds of things. I fought with the government. I sued the village when I ran for office the first time, and those guys were the lawyers, and they were fun to deal with. I'll tell you that. I was on the other side of them. So I just don't think, I appreciate your wanting to do something better, Vice Mayor. I do, and I admire you for that. But I just don't think you understand. You've been here long enough, and please don't be insulted, but I don't think you've been here long enough to understand the value of what we have. And when it's gone, you really will. So, because you saw what we had before, and what we had before caused the problem that we talked about earlier. Yeah. Then that wouldn't happen here. So I just had to say my piece about that.
What you just said, that's why, because it was all done by our in-house attorney.
That's the problem.
Weiss Serota would have been negotiated.
That is the problem.
Yeah.
So I said my piece. You guys do what you want. I won't be here. Have a nice term.
All right, so what do you want us to do?
I wanted to see if there was a appetite just to do it for transparency, to make sure, because there is such a big question about the amount of money. This would put it to end. And don't give me any more lectures. You've already said everything you want to say to me. I appreciate what you have to say, but you don't understand everything, and so maybe you should.
You don't understand a word about what we're talking about right now. You don't understand land use, because you said that right there behind the microphone twice already. That's a big part of what he does, and he guides us through the jungle on that.
Okay, I've had enough of you insulting me, so stop, okay? There's other people on this council besides you, and it's a simple request. It doesn't mean he's getting replaced, and you need to come down off the whatever you think you stand on. You're not better than anybody else up here, and I find it extremely insulting you think you know more, when in a lot of instances, you don't.
I'm well aware of the limits.
I just want to know how everybody else feels, and we can end this because it's not going to end good for you and I, so let's just stop.
It's ending just fine for me. I'm not insulted.
And you know what? It's going to end good for me too in November.
Well, that's up to you. You know, we'll see how that goes. But whether I'm here or not, you still are going to need a lawyer. That's the real issue. You can insult me all you want.
Firing him. Will you stop? All it was a simple request. So you said your piece, I said mine. There's other people on this council besides you. So
first of all, I will say that I doubt that we're going to get
we're not.
An attorney that is for the depth, the width, the everything that White Sirota brings between Allison being a personnel, between all, he can call up in his batting cage whoever. And I know there's people in this community, residents, that want to try to get somebody else their own so they can control them. And I don't agree with that. Go ahead, Mary.
I've been dealing with attorneys since the year one. I've been in the courtroom as much as you, possibly, maybe more than you.
Wow.
I've written opening statements for attorneys. I've written closing statements for attorneys. I choose 6, 10, 12 litigators, right? Right? That's what I do. I get paid for that. My favorite statement, and nothing to do with you, is that attorneys screw up more things than they make. It's just my favorite statement. I've been around attorneys. They're no different than me, you, or anybody else. Some are better, some are not so good. But I do write opening statements and closing statements when I'm in court. And you never know who's who and who's the best. I'll tell you a secret. You give me credit as being somewhat smart. You know why I'm so smart? Because I try to surround myself with people that know more than I do. Simple deduction. So I'm not as smart as you might think I am, because I rely on other people. So you never know what you're going to get. If you want to try it, I'll go along with you. Go ahead, try it. We're not saying these people aren't living up to our expectation. Not at all.
No, I think they're doing a good job. It's just that there are some voices in this town that want to complain about everything, and that they think everything. It's not that big a group that are doing this, but I personally like Mr. Quick. I mean, but then again, I know myself, because I bid for the aqueduct. I couldn't, I took a chance every time I bid, but and I don't think this is all tied to money or anything here, because I know what a team White Sirota is. I sat in the $100 million negotiating meetings with Lily and Nina for the wastewater as a resident, right here in the third floor conference room. And, they did a heck of a job.
The joke is here, but it's a true joke, is that everybody bitches and complains about lawyers, that they make mistakes, they rip people off, they confuse them. But when you get in trouble, who's the first one you call? It's the lawyer. And so when that happens, and it's going to happen, don't you think you ought to have a lawyer that you can trust and that you've worked with and that you've cultured a developed a relationship with, and they have insight into you and your needs and your wants and your fears and your weaknesses? They know that, and that's confidential. I mean, you can't buy that. It comes over time. Right. And if you think you're going to put it out to bid and do better, I said it before, good luck. End of story.
Okay, so with this discussion, Vice Mayor, can't we're coming back here on the 5th. Huh? Is that, huh? Well, they're all,
I only need 2 for a quorum now.
Talk a little longer, there might just be one of us left here.
Honestly,
go ahead.
I don't want to go through what I saw, multiple meetings with Mr. Yates. If the council would like to send it out to bid, like I said, we will support, as with everything, we will support the council's decision, and we will analyze it obviously when it comes out. But I'd rather, if it's going to go out, I'd rather honestly that the decision be made, as a professional courtesy, be made sooner rather than later, please.
We can't vote on anything. This isn't a vote.
It would just be, honestly, this is just asking staff to prepare something for your consideration.
Feedback for them to then really decide whether or not it is forward.
Yeah, it's for him to bring something back. Ultimately, you guys would make a decision.
We have to vote on it. We have to, when it comes back, we would have to vote on it.
Yeah, that's what I think is staff is looking for at a future date. Yes, obviously.
Is that what you're asking for? Okay, Mr. Cole, do you
Yeah,
understand what the
I propose that pursuant to council direction, staff will draft an RFP. We will bring it back to council for review and consideration, and a vote, an actual decision about moving forward with the RFP will occur at a regular public meeting where those decisions can be made. So we're not deciding to go out to RFP now, but we are asking staff to prepare an RFP, bring it back for council consideration at a public meeting, at which point a quorum of the board would need to direct us to proceed in issuing it.
So I understand what you're trying to do. So at this point, I will go along with what you're talking about doing, but we still have to vote on it. Okay, thank you. I'm glad that's over. All right, is there anything else we'd like to talk about? There's only 3 of us here.
We can pass a lot of stuff between the
Henry. Okay, I think, what's that? I know, it's a workshop.
You're right.
Yep, okay. So with that being said, how about if we have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Okay, all right.